Moving from a reactive approach to a more proactive and preventative one, traditionally school-based mental health services were often provided in response to observable behavioral issues or crises within a school environment. However, contemporary approaches recognize the importance of addressing mental health needs before they actually escalate into more serious problems. When we talk about traditional or reactive approach, that approach focuses on addressing mental health issues after they've already manifested as a behavior problem or a crisis in a school setting. Services are typically provided in response to specific issues or incidents, like disruptive behavior, conflicts, or emotional outbursts. The contemporary or more preventative approaches emphasize early identification and intervention to prevent the development of more serious mental health issues or continuation of crises. Mental health services are integrated into the school environment as a part of a proactive strategy. And schools implement strategies to create a supportive and nurturing environment that addresses the social and emotional needs of all students. By addressing mental health needs proactively and through the development of a comprehensive school mental health system, schools can help students acquire the skills and resilience necessary for both personal well-being and academic success. So this brings us to a deeper dive into the components of the Enhancing School Mental Health Services project. And again, the project is sponsored by the New Jersey Department of Education in collaboration with the Rutgers Center for Comprehensive School Mental Health. And the project has three main objectives: to support the development and implementation of a comprehensive school mental health framework for 50 selected schools through intensive training and technical assistance, to establish district and building level capacity and sustainability within this cohort of schools through what's called the School Mental Health Leadership Academy, and to provide statewide trainings to New Jersey educators and school mental health professionals. Pardon me. This graphic depicts the main project components. So we have statewide trainings, and then the piece that we're going to focus on here is the Comprehensive School Mental Health Technical Assistance and School Mental Health Leadership Academy for 50 schools. And before we move on, I just want to clarify that when we talk about technical assistance or TA, we're referring to individualized coaching and or targeted supports for schools as they develop their comprehensive school mental health systems. So let's start with the School Mental Health Leadership Academy. The Leadership Academy involves the participation of our school mental health leads, which is you. You're all here with us today. And we are asking that you would broadly champion the implementation of comprehensive school mental health, lead a comprehensive school mental health team, and also facilitate regular team meetings with support from our team over the course of the project. Through the Leadership Academy, the school mental health leads will receive intensive in-person or virtual training on key components of comprehensive school mental health, individualized coaching support, and an opportunity to learn and collaborate with other schools or districts that are participating in the project. And then that brings us to intensive training and coaching supports that participating schools will receive from us, the Rutgers team, and also from your individual consultant that's assigned to work with your school. Training and coaching supports address an array of topics related to comprehensive school mental health, including school needs assessment and action planning, teaming and mental health promotion, early intervention services, alignment of student services using a data-driven process, risk assessment, suicide prevention and intervention, as well as strategies to address barriers to implementation. Individual school consultants will meet virtually with leads and with your teams about 6 to 8 times a year or roughly monthly to support the implementation of your student mental health supports. And a comprehensive school mental health team members will also receive group trainings with the full cohort of schools participating in the project on core components of comprehensive school mental health and the MTSS framework. So just to be clear about what the project is and what it is not, the target audience for this project is school district leadership and mental health teams. The project will assist with adopting and implementing a systems-wide approach to mental health supports to increase long-term sustainability, align your efforts, and to maximize your resources. The project will not provide direct support to students or provide individual school training or replace the hubs or existing mental health providers or community partnerships. So there are so many benefits to participating in this project, and I'm just going to highlight a few of them for you here today. So schools will receive assistance with conducting a formal assessment of your current comprehensive school mental health systems, will identify areas of strength and create an action plan for improvement or growth. Participants will receive cost-free intensive technical assistance and training, both in group format with other schools and individualized to meet the unique needs of your schools and teams. You'll gain access to a collaborative peer community. You'll be able to build internal capacity and expertise, and you'll receive assistance in administering the school mental health screeners to identify student strengths and needs. So now we'll talk a little bit about our group trainings, and we'll provide training on the foundations of comprehensive school mental health, and they will include topics such as introduction to comprehensive school mental health and the MTSS framework, effective teaming and cross-collaboration. We'll assist with needs assessment, universal screening and resource mapping, database decision-making, substance abuse and suicide screenings, strategies for effective school mental health coaching, strategies for sustaining funding for comprehensive school mental health programming, and elevating student voice in the context of school-based mental health. So just to give you a broad outline of our tentative timeline, these are some key dates to consider. So we'll start with our current school year. We've already had our principal welcome sessions in August, and now we're here with our leads to review some similar information. Later this fall, we'll launch the School Mental Health Leadership Academy with 2 trainings, one in October and one in December. Starting in January 2024 through May, we'll conduct 3 full team trainings with the comprehensive school mental health teams, during which our leads will receive some differentiated training throughout the Leadership Academy. And then throughout the school year, we'll offer monthly technical assistance and coaching with leads. This will be your assigned Rutgers consultant, where we'll have a chance to individually support you through any challenges that you might experience or that may be unique to your team and to your school. And finally, starting and ending 23-24 school year, we'll be conducting an assessment of your school's mental health supports and services using the School Health Assessment and Performance Evaluation, or the SHAPE system. So we'll work with the leads and the teams through this assessment twice a year to inform action planning and to track progress towards developing your school's comprehensive school mental health systems. And you'll also notice that in the fall, we'll be conducting key informant interviews, which we'll discuss in a little bit more detail towards the end of this orientation. So moving into year 24-25, we will continue with the comprehensive school mental health trainings for leads as well as larger teams. These trainings will conclude in June with the project wrap-up and celebration. And then we'll also continue with individualized monthly technical assistance and coaching supports with your leads and teams. And then in the fall of the 25-26 school year, we'll be winding down the project while also preparing you for next steps in your continued success through developing a robust, comprehensive school mental health system, and very importantly, the sustainability of those programs. During that time, we'll be offering some the School Mental Health Leadership Academy will participate in a roundtable that will foster group reflection and dialogue. Pardon me. And we'll also be fading the technical assistance and individual leads coaching. We'll conduct our final SHAPE assessment and take time to reflect upon progress made and a roadmap for next steps. Now, we understand that this may feel like a lot. It was a lot to get through, but our team will be with you every step of the way to make sure that you have access and the support that you need. So in these next few slides, we thought that it would be very helpful to run through the primary responsibilities of the key players for the project. And we'll start with the school mental health leads. And again, you guys will be responsible for championing the project initiatives, leading the comprehensive school mental health team, spearheading needs and assessments, and the completion of action plan items. We're asking that you facilitate regular comprehensive school mental health team meetings, that you attend full or half-day trainings or events as part of the Leadership Academy, that you are engaging in our virtual coaching sessions with added supports from your Rutgers consultant. And in the final stages of the project, we're asking that you participate in a community roundtable with the other schools. Then there's the comprehensive school mental health team, whose responsibility includes contributing to the implementation of comprehensive school mental health within an MTSS framework, serving as a member of the school mental health team, and attending regular team meetings. We're asking that they assist with comprehensive school mental health needs assessment and progress towards completion of the action plan items, and that they attend a total of 7 full or half-day training or events across the span of the program. School staff also have responsibility in the project, and we're asking that they continue to provide quality core instruction and classroom management techniques with fidelity, that they're able to identify students that are not making adequate progress, that they are collaborating with the team to determine appropriate interventions for targeted students, and that they're completing all necessary data collection, screening methods for inputs for forms and documentation of their interventions, and ensuring that students receive their interventions with fidelity from assigned personnel. And last but not least, our principal or school administrator's responsibilities include leading and actively supporting the implementation of the comprehensive school mental health within schools, attending the administrative information sessions, project orientation, and any closing events that we may put on, identifying school mental health leads and assembling the team, and also serving as an active member. We're asking that our principals provide release time for the leads and for the assigned team members to participate in offsite training and activities, and that they provide leads with some flexible time in order for team meetings and professional development to occur and to fulfill their role. And lastly, that they establish an expectation for all staff to consistently implement comprehensive school mental health features and prevention practices. So at this juncture, we're going to do a little activity. So we're going to divide you into breakout groups and ask you to answer the following questions about potential barriers and facilitators to project success. All right. Welcome back, everybody. That was, we had some fruitful conversation in our group. Is there any group, how about group 3, were you able to come up with, would you like to identify some of your barriers and any ways that you think you can foster support around the project?
I'm sorry, I don't know the number of our group. So
Okay.
if you could say the lead, maybe that would help.
I'm not sure who was assigned to your group, but if you would like to share, that would be fine.
I was with Alicia.
Okay.
And I'm Jill Priest, Sea Caucus.
Thank you.
Our potential barriers listed in our group were making time for improvements and for making changes. The amount of work we all have makes cooperation more difficult. Technology can be a challenge. The school facilitation benefits, we listed, we look forward to, I said we look forward to suicide screening in our school. We've had it in the past. We don't have it now, so I'm looking forward to some help on that. And we're ready to develop our capacity. Schools can work at their own pace, Alicia explained to us, which is a great benefit for individualizing programs. Staffs in all the schools said that they were open and looking for support, and so the buy-in is there. And we also talked about the lingering results of the pandemic and how much we all need help still.
Okay.
So that's it for us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jill, for your thoughtful feedback. I appreciate that. In an effort to be respectful of our time, I'm going to move forward and pass it off to Alicia, who will take a deeper dive around comprehensive school mental health systems.
Great. Thank you so much, Tania. So we're going to be talking now and looking more closely at comprehensive school mental health and its core components. So what is comprehensive school mental health and a comprehensive school mental health system? Comprehensive school mental health systems provide a full array of tiered supports and services that promote a positive school climate, social and emotional learning, and mental health and well-being while reducing the prevalence and severity of mental illness and substance use. And we know that strong and effective comprehensive school mental health systems have been shown to have significant benefits to students and schools more broadly, including things like greater academic success, reduced exclusionary discipline practices, reduced special education referrals and placement in restrictive settings, improved school climate and safety, enhanced student engagement, social, emotional, and behavioral functioning, and even higher graduation rates. Comprehensive school mental health systems have 8 core features, and we're going to go into a little bit more depth about those now. So these 8 core features are shown here, and as we're reviewing these components, I want you to think about what might be in place and are more or less developed in your own schools. So to begin, comprehensive school mental health systems depend on well-trained school and district professionals, educators who are equipped with strong social and emotional skills and mental health literacy. Effective family engagement and community partnership are also central to supporting positive academic and social emotional outcomes for students. Comprehensive school mental health systems incorporate a full array of tiered evidence-based processes, policies, and practices, and this is called the multi-tiered system of supports, or MTSS framework. Systematic needs assessments are also implemented on a regular basis to identify school and student priority areas and strengths. And resource mapping of school and community assets is also a key part of this process to inform decisions about available supports and services, as well as to identify any potential gaps there might be. So we have mental health screening and referrals to help identify student needs early and connect students to appropriate services and supports. Data collection and analysis is also key and used for decision-making to determine the effectiveness of these services and supports, and also to help identify students in need. Comprehensive school mental health systems, they also implement evidence-based practices and emerging best practices to help ensure that the highest quality supports and services are provided to students. And last but not least, funding opportunities from federal, state, and local sources. These can help to ensure sustainability of comprehensive school mental health systems. And while we're not going to have the time today to discuss all of these components in detail, in just a moment, we're going to go into more depth about the multi-tiered system of supports framework, which really serves as a cornerstone for this work. But first, I want to take a moment here to highlight some key cultural considerations, which cannot be underestimated in efforts to develop effective comprehensive school mental health systems. And as I'm sure many of you are already aware, it's important to take time to consider the cultural demographics of your school and approach school mental health programming and assessment through a culturally sensitive lens. So some of the things that are important to explore and address are the potential impacts of language barriers, differences in norms and values, including your own personal biases, differences in communication styles and educational backgrounds of students and families, family dynamics that may facilitate or interfere with school engagement, and potential cultural mistrust and stigma when it comes to mental illness and well-being, including treatment seeking. So we're going to return to the role of culture and the significance of cultural considerations at multiple points throughout all of our trainings and our work together. And now we'd like to get an idea of how the 8 core features of comprehensive school mental health rank in terms of their implementation in your schools. And to do this, we're going to use a poll everywhere activity. To participate, please just use a QR code on the screen or use a link that will be provided in the chat. And so now thinking about the 8 core features of comprehensive school mental health in your school, rank them here starting with the strongest one. And just so you know, you'll use the up and down arrows next to each core feature in order to order them. So I'll just give a moment for folks to complete this activity, and we'll see the results coming up on our screen here. Okay, so just waiting for some responses. Here we go. Okay, great. So ranking the 8 core features, starting with the strongest. It looks like we have family, school, community partnerships, and those are real strengths. It appears for your schools, and these will shift as responses come in. But that's up there at the top. Evidence-based and emerging best practices, incorporating those. I'm going to wait just a moment here. Well-trained school and district professionals, this comes up a lot in terms of one of the highest or strongest features for schools. Okay, and then down here, some of the areas that are really areas for development look like funding and sustainability, and identifying diverse sources, and also systematic needs assessment and resource mapping. Great, thank you so much. It's so helpful to see how these components rank in your schools. So here we have at the top here, family, school, community partnerships again, and then the well-trained school and district professionals. Thanks so much. So we're going to engage in one additional poll. And for this one, I'd like you to select 2 core features of comprehensive school mental health that you think will be the most challenging to implement in your schools. So what are the 2 core features that you feel will be most challenging to implement? Just going to give a moment for folks to respond. Thank you so much for the participation. I think it's great for all schools to, get a sense that they're not alone in their challenges and some of the areas for growth and strengths. It's nice to get to know our school community here. Okay, so far in terms of challenges, think a little bit further down. We see diverse sources of funding and sustainability at 32% so far. Family and community, school and community partnerships, this comes up often as well, and is also something that we address, throughout our time together and in our trainings. Screening and referral, and the training of school and district professionals. Great, thank you so much for all of your feedback. Again, it's just extremely helpful to see where you all are at in your process. Excellent. So moving on to the MTSS framework. So I'm going to talk a little bit about all of the components of this framework. So the multi-tiered system of support, or MTSS framework, it's a dominant framework in the field of school mental health, and many of you might already be familiar with MTSS. The framework emerged from work conducted in public health, emphasizing 3 tiers of prevention and representing a continuum of preventive and intervention services designed to address the diverse academic and mental health needs of all students. And as shown here, the 3 tiers represent universal, tier 1, secondary, tier 2, or tertiary, tier 3 interventions. Responding to a full range of student needs, interventions are layered. So they're layered from a universal approach, serving all students, to which most students respond, to more specific and targeted interventions. And these are designed for smaller percentages of higher needs students. So starting at tier 1, universal or primary prevention efforts, these are designed for all students and include staff and involve strengthening social, emotional, and behavioral skills. Some examples include universal screening, social emotional learning curriculum, and things like positive school culture and climate. Then we have tier 2, secondary or selective prevention efforts designed for students who may not respond to universal supports alone and are at risk for developing more significant mental health concerns. And some examples here include small group interventions, mentoring, classroom-based supports, brief individualized strategies, such as small psychoeducational groups, social skills training, things like check-in, check-out. And then finally, we have tier 3, tertiary or intensive intervention efforts. And these are designed to address individualized needs of a smaller percentage of students who don't respond alone to primary or secondary supports and will need more intensive individualized interventions. These types of supports and services include individual, group, or family therapy, crisis counseling, and collaboration with community service providers. With this tiered system and by addressing student needs at different levels, MTSS supports a diverse range of learners. So as mentioned, interventions are layered, and MTSS is designed to enable approximately 80% of all students to be successful in a given domain with tier 1 or universal supports alone, roughly 15% of all students with tier 1, 2, and tier 2 or targeted supports alone, and about 5% of all students utilizing tier 1, 2, and added tier 3 supports, or the more intensive supports. So this framework is designed to provide timely interventions and prevent the need for more intensive support later on. As students progress, they can move between tiers based on their changing needs and their level of success. I'd like to take a moment here to highlight the New Jersey tiered system of supports, which, as you may know, also utilizes the MTSS framework and also response to intervention principles to organize a continuum of academic and behavior supports to promote student achievement. This integrated model builds on a foundation of positive school culture and climate, district and school leadership, and also family and community engagement. And database decision-making is also incorporated into the intervention and referral services process to match student needs to appropriate supports. And now MTSS at a glance. So this side-by-side can be helpful when clarifying what's offered through utilizing MTSS and then what's not. So we've talked about what MTSS is, but what it's not is it's not a prepackaged curriculum or program. It's not just for the purpose of identifying a need for special education or even isolated to academics and behavior. It certainly doesn't take the place of response to intervention, and it's also not the job of a few specialists, but instead a diverse team of stakeholders. And we're going to talk more about that team and teaming in this process a little later on. So here, it's also important to remember, as this slide depicts, that developing and implementing a comprehensive school mental health system typically takes 5 years, and it also occurs across multiple phases. So your schools may be in different phases of implementation, and this also is not always a linear process, and we just want to reassure you that this is okay. So our goal and the goal of this project is to provide schools with the trainings and technical assistance or coaching needed to support your implementation efforts really wherever they're at. So let's take a moment now to think about where your schools are in terms of developing their tiered services and supports. And to do this, we're going to launch three separate polls. So moving on now to a pause for reflection. And before we take a break, I'd just like to take a moment to direct everyone to the following note-taker reflection exercise. Now, this was shared on our learning platform, Canvas, as a resource accompanying this orientation. And for today, this exercise is just for self-reflection only. We encourage you to continue considering the following questions as you leave orientation today, as we go on our break. And those are considering the 8 core features of comprehensive school mental health. What are your school's strengths? What tier 1, 2, and 3 initiatives or programs does your school currently have in place? And how do you currently incorporate culturally responsive practices to ensure all students have access to high quality mental health supports? How can these efforts be enhanced? Great, thank you. Here we are in our today's agenda, picking up with teaming fundamentals. And as it relates to comprehensive school mental health implementation in particular. So when implementing comprehensive school mental health, developing a designated team helps to achieve the goal of providing a continuum of services and ensures successful implementation. So this team is a team of interdisciplinary school and community stakeholders that meet regularly, use data-based decision-making, and lead the action planning and implementation of programs to support student mental health. So the comprehensive school mental health team is really on the front lines of developing and implementing comprehensive school mental health efforts. With the heavy workload of everyone in the building, we often find that staff is working diligently to complete their own tasks, but in their own silos. And this can lead to duplicated work and inefficiencies. So teaming supports collaboration and addresses the problem of siloed work and duplication. It supports efficiency and also maximizes the efforts of individuals within the team. As mentioned, teaming also brings together a diversity of stakeholders with unique and important roles in developing the vision and priorities of comprehensive school mental health. So I want to highlight here that there should be some symmetry of processes between district and school mental health teams. Their functions are similar, but at different levels. So for example, district mental health teams may examine data in aggregate across schools to understand trends in the larger district, whereas school mental health teams may examine both school and individual level data to best match the appropriate interventions to students within a school. The district might provide overall funding and support for training in specific school mental health topics or interventions, but then the school team would ensure that the training and implementation is occurring consistently throughout the building. Both district and school teams work to foster partnerships with community leaders, family members, and students to improve mental health systems. So when utilizing a multidisciplinary collaborative team, the school community really benefits. Teaming can provide additional resources and supports, especially when collaborating with community partners who can bring new ideas and resources to the table. When utilizing a multidisciplinary team, including community partners with their diverse experiences and areas of expertise, it allows teams to fill gaps in services and increase the offering of services at each tier. Schools are also able to offer more supports to students despite funding limitations, in part through community partner involvement, but also with greater system efficiency. And finally, when involving representatives from spaces in which services and supports are provided, from the classroom, counseling offices, central office, to home and community, it's more likely that we'll see consistency in services, and this reduces fragmentation, which is critical to better outcomes. So what makes a successful comprehensive school mental health team makeup? So when recruiting members of a team, it's important to have representation of all stakeholders who play various roles in the school and to have a team that accurately reflects the school community. This includes strong administrative support, school mental health staff, potentially the school nurse. Teachers are also key members, providing classroom perspectives and helping to support staff buy-in. And often overlooked but very important components of comprehensive school mental health teams, which I can't emphasize enough, are also students, family members, and community partners. Partnering with youth and families can help improve the relevance and effectiveness of programming, enhance engagement, and can also help to reduce stigma around mental health issues. Community partners can help to inform and augment services within school settings, while also linking students to outside services and supports. And one last point here to consider is combining efforts of teams that are already in place, such as the Culture and Climate or SEL team doing related work to avoid duplication and promote a coordinated vision. So teams function most effectively to achieve their goals of comprehensive school mental health when following a few best practices. So one is working to facilitate or secure staff and administrative buy-in. And this is critical to the successful implementation of comprehensive school mental health. We'll be talking about that more in just a bit. Defining roles and responsibilities on the team that also helps to enhance efficiency and productivity, as well as accountability. A successful team will work collaboratively and establish a team purpose and procedure, even down to the details of how notes are taken or decisions are made as a group. And creating a shared understanding of these processes, as well as agreement on the purpose of the group, that builds trust and accountability. So best practices also include systematic problem solving informed by data to help ensure an accurate understanding of the challenges that the school is facing and best approaches to solving them. Professional development is also a critical piece to enhance or solidify knowledge, staying up to date with new research, interventions, and strategies as they're developed. And teams should regularly evaluate their progress and effectiveness. And this should really be viewed as an ongoing learning process. Finally, bringing together team members with diverse and complementary competencies, that makes for a stronger team. Okay, so just with every component of comprehensive school mental health, we want to have the cultural considerations of our school community at the forefront of our minds. And this includes responding to the diverse needs of all populations. So creating a team that is as diverse as the school community itself, that allows for a voice for all to be represented. And this means recruiting members who are self-aware and have an understanding of other populations in the school or are open to learning, and also are ready to utilize this understanding in the implementation of policies, initiatives, and services. So as we're in the very early stages of team development, it may be helpful to begin to think through these essential questions shown here, including who will be on your team and how you'll include students, family, and community partners in the process. When will your team meet and how often? And what teams already exist that can be utilized or modified to avoid duplication of efforts? And even for those of you who are already, you might have an established school mental health team, some of these questions here can really provide a check-in on potential ways that your team might be improved. Okay, so again, we're just going to take a quick pause for reflection and refer to the note taker reflection exercise, where you can jot down some thoughts related to these two questions here now or after orientation or both. So think about who in your school and community should be included in your comprehensive school mental health team, and what challenges have you faced in developing a school mental health team, and or what challenges do you anticipate facing in developing this team? Okay, great. So now I'm going to turn things over to Stuart, and he's going to introduce you to your leadership role as a school mental health lead.
Thank you so much, Alicia. So earlier today, we broadly discussed your role as the school mental health lead. But now let's talk a little bit more of what it looks like in kind of practical terms for you as a school leader. So to start, you'll utilize all of the training you receive here and at the School Mental Health Leadership Academy to really provide some solid guidance to your school mental health team. And this can look like sharing your knowledge of school mental health, but also the processes that your team will use in your collaborative team efforts. So this might look like implementation strategies, how your team meetings are actually run, as well as goal setting and strategic planning. It's also going to be really important to really help keep stakeholders accountable. And this can include your team, but also others that may be involved, such as teachers, community partners, and even some administrators. But this is a hard thing for many of us to do, especially of us that go into the field of helping professions. Accountability can be tough. So let's talk about things that we can do to really help folks be receptive to this type of accountability. So we can start off from the beginning with setting clear goals with those involved, as well as setting very clear expectations. And this is throughout the teaming process. We really want to help ensure that the roles are clearly established and everyone knows who's doing what and how those tasks should really be executed. We want to set those clear expectations with regular check-ins for feedback, and this will really help in helping others to receive that feedback. And this will also all start, hopefully, on that onboarding process as your work begins, which is about now. And if these expectations are set early and applied consistently, it will really help set everyone up for success, and understanding that you are simply working to support the individual and the team and working towards that shared vision. So in your roles as a school mental health lead, we're going to be creating a lot of change in your schools throughout this project. And change can be really hard for everyone. We probably can see that through our own experiences. We really like to resist change oftentimes. But what can really help with this process is really establishing a strong sense of trust. We, of course, respond better to people that we have strong, positive relationships with. So starting to develop those with staff and developing that positive rapport is really going to help with that buy-in process and begin to develop that strong sense of trust. And next, going on to the advocating for the needs of the school community, it's likely that you already have a really strong pulse of the needs of your school community. And we hope that throughout this entire process, you will really begin to even better understand those needs. And as a lead, you'll be tasked with making sure that those needs are heard and really integrated into everything that you're doing throughout this. And finally, and we'll discuss this a bit more in the next section, is really facilitating that buy-in from your staff through expressing the needs of your community and really expressing how this project can help address those needs, as well as addressing the needs for all and thinking of ways that this is going to be beneficial, not just to students, but also to your staff and the larger community as well. And I know that in our breakout group, we had a long discussion about buy-in, so I'm happy we'll be discussing that more in depth today. So we're up for a big task together. It's no secret here. At its core, the implementation of comprehensive school mental health is really a change to a large system and a system that's already in place. And so when we're thinking about being leaders in our school, and the qualities that are, we wanted to be thoughtful thinking about that change. And we're kind of reflecting on this model of adaptive leadership. And adaptive leadership is a style of leadership that is understood to be very effective in these times of systems. About what those qualities are of an adaptive leader. So with change comes the need to really embrace change. So much of the work you're doing may be new to you in your school, and we can anticipate that there will be roadblocks and challenges that are brand new. And while this likely will feel frustrating at times, maintaining that flexibility and really being open to new ideas, to trying new ways of doing things will really help address these new challenges that we know are pretty inevitable. Adaptive leaders lead with empathy. We know that empathy is the ability to understand how others are feeling, but importantly, we're understanding this in the context of how they are experiencing those feelings. And we're really putting ourselves in the position of students, of team members, and other staff, and really helping to work to develop trust and help identify what the diverse needs of your school really are. And when others know that leaders are willing to listen, it really take their thoughts into account and consideration, this is really going to help support that trust of the leader, of you. And this includes a willingness to understand others' perspectives. When we truly listen to others around us and eliminate the need to know everything, it can really take a lot of pressure off you as a leader, and having all of the answers. But we can also use this to uncover new problems to address, as well as new solutions. But we know that listening is more than just paying attention or not interrupting. While, of course, are very important aspects of listening, it's great for a listener to really uncover the speaker's goals and needs and really adapt the way that they listen to help the speaker meet those goals and needs. So adaptive leaders love trying new things. This includes strategies, processes, and other things. And especially if it comes to the if it helps the organization succeed and be better prepared for change. They also have the propensity to innovate and experiment and are not afraid to really fail in that process, because we know that that failure is not just simply a failure. This is really an opportunity for that continuous learning and really to learn about the process and learn about what worked and what didn't work. And much of what we've discussed, such as empathy and understanding, are included in emotional intelligence, this other quality of successful leaders. And adaptive leaders are really sensitive to the feelings of others and acknowledge that change isn't easy, and really lead with compassion when we're working with others in our school. But we also know that this emotional awareness can be turned inward to really understand how we're feeling and adapting to situations, and have an increased understanding of why we're reacting in certain ways, and a better understanding of ourselves as well. And adaptive leaders must be open and honest, even if the truth is hard to hear. You know, this is another really challenging one for us. But it's really important that we share the facts with our stakeholders. And as a leader, your honesty will really help ensure that changes are accepted and understood, because it really continues to facilitate that greater sense of trust in you as a leader, but also in this process. And finally, you may notice that many of these qualities will be necessary, or well, at least you will want them to be upheld by all the stakeholders that you are working with as well. And a good first step to really start to cultivate this is modeling these qualities to really help facilitate that adoption of others as well. So next, like I said, we're aware that you as school mental health leads, we're really asking a lot. But we really hope that you can feel more confident in your leadership role, knowing that you're not alone and that you have the support from your individual consultant, but also the support from our full Rutgers team. So in addition to, of course, being your biggest cheerleader out here, what can you expect from your consultant and us as your Rutgers team? Well, we'll commit to really being that objective partner for you, with those shared goals and that shared vision, and really seeking success for you and your school and your students. Like I said, we are your biggest cheerleaders in this work, but we also will sit just right outside the work, allowing us to provide you with some objective feedback and support for the challenges that you'll face. In your schools, like you will be the subject matter expert when it comes to school mental health. We will also be here to support you with all of that knowledge and specialized understanding that we can support you with. We do not expect you to know it all. We already know that you wear many, many hats. So the expectation isn't that you know every single thing about every single step of the way through this process. So we'll use our understanding to really work with you to find solutions to the unique challenges for your school, as well as the unique challenges for your role. And as you know, comprehensive school mental health is multifaceted and can require a lot of thinking about how to best utilize practices in your school. And we'll be present with you along this journey to really help think through the complexities of implementation and help uncover and discover the best approaches for you and your school. And finally, but certainly not least, we will do this, of course, leading with empathy and understanding and compassion and grace. So now we are going to rejoin our breakout rooms and have another group discussion. And so for this group discussion, it will be the same. We will share a link to the Airtable. If you could identify one note taker for your group who will kind of take notes on the Jamboard there. We're going to kind of talk about some of these questions you see here on your screen. And we're going to reflect back on a time that you've experienced leadership in your school or outside of your school and kind of respond to some of these questions. And that includes, what qualities or approaches do you feel make a leader challenging to work with? What qualities make for an effective leader and or successful coaching experience? And finally, what are your strengths and how can they be utilized to be an effective leader or an effective coach through this process? Welcome back, everyone. And thank you so much for that really wonderful discussion. I know that in my group, we had some really great discussion and some thoughts on, what makes a successful leader, what can make those interactions a little more challenging, and also some good conversations and some willingness to be a little vulnerable too, to talk about personal strengths and their team strengths and how to be an effective leader, have a leadership team. So I would love to hear from some of the other groups and some of the things that you all discussed in your breakout group. So maybe group one, if you all have a representative that would like to share out on one or two, or maybe even all of these questions that summarizing what you and your group discussed.
I can share for our group, Stuart. We actually we're talking about some challenges, and I think that there are some challenges around buy-in, but when we talk about what makes an effective leader is really knowing when to say you don't know what you don't know, and to kind of lean on the folks with the expertise, or be resourceful in a way that allows us to all have some shared understanding around a project, an initiative, or whatever's presented.
That's a really good one. And my group also talked about trusting your team members, which I think is integrated in there as well, being willing to trust those with the expertise.
Yeah. Very good. Thanks.
Thank you, Tania. And I'm actually going to pass it right back to you. So I'm going to pass this over to Tania to start some discussion about what seems like a buzzword and something that's on a lot of folks' mind right now, which is a good thing, is buy-in and developing that buy-in with your staff in your school.
Very good. Thank you. So, as we talk about buy-in and, with the implementation of comprehensive school mental health, there's a lot of change that is happening at once. There's change in systems, ways of doing things, as well as perspective, right? And that's a big one. However, change is a challenge for us, even when it feels small, because it can lead to uncertainty, right? So let's anticipate that uncertainty from the beginning and begin to develop some buy-in. So we define buy-in as a shared belief in the value and importance of an initiative and a commitment to its success. And it may be easier to understand just by thinking about what it looks like and what it feels like when staff are brought in and they engage in the process. They are involved and display actions that are consistent with the shared decisions by the team and by the school. We see more follow-through with tasks and strategies. And finally, when staff really clearly understand the initiative, the importance and how their role in the initiative is important and valued, there's an opportunity for them to really participate. So when we look at change means uncertainty. That uncertainty may be about the specifics or the lack of specifics, and what and how things are changing and who's directing or facilitating the change. Uncertainty may also be a reflection of whether the direction of change is viewed as positive or not, right? So without staff buy-in, we're at a higher risk of new initiatives failing, right? So lack of staff buy-in is oftentimes cited as one of the highest predictors of failed implementation of school mental health initiatives. And it also oftentimes comes from lack of information, which can lead to negative outlook, But the good news is this is something you can start addressing now, and by offering a clear vision for comprehensive school mental health and its value to those involved. So we need to hear from people who are involved in the project to understand how things are working and to identify potential areas of improvement. We don't know what we don't know. We talked a little bit about that in our breakout sessions. So staff buy-in encourages two-way communication so that we're able to gather important, necessary data and information. And finally, consistency is a vital component of comprehensive school mental health. And if our students are receiving conflicting messages from staff and, we don't necessarily mean what we say, or there's some confusion, our systems won't be effective, right? So we need a shared vision and a commitment. And with that, staff are more likely to apply changes consistently. So you might be thinking, yeah, that's great and all, but how do I actually facilitate buy-in? And the good news is that this is something you can start doing now. And we really do hope that you do, right? We can engage staff from the start, provide clear information about the project, what it is, why it's important to the school and the students, and also all of the staff in the school, right? We want to develop a sense of community around the work, and that starts with open communication. We'd like for you to create opportunities for staff to learn about the work through presentations, one-on-one conversations, and displaying information publicly in a very easily accessible way. It's an ongoing process, so we also need to close a feedback loop, right? So create ways where your team and other stakeholders can talk with you around the project. And this will help strengthen our systems, but also identify pockets of potential resistance early on. We build trust by listening to staff and developing a rapport, showing staff that their input is being utilized, and planning to keep teamwork transparent and avoid any in-group or out-group dynamics. Schools should develop a plan to regularly and authentically acknowledge staff for the good work that they're doing. And this can be in staff meetings, email, newsletters, or whatever works best for your school. And we don't want you to just acknowledge hard work as hard work, right? Really tie it to the impact of the project. Ensure that you and other leaders, including administration, are publicly showing their support for the project, right? So being in the public can be a little bit uncomfortable for some of us, but showing support outwardly helps send a message of importance of the work, and it helps stakeholders know how they can be supported and that they're not alone. And finally, we want you to be sure to acknowledge and celebrate successes early and consistently with the whole team and with the school, right? Acknowledge that the implementation of this project is a school-wide effort, and celebrate with the entire community. So in order to, really gain buy-in from school staff, we're asking for each school team to plan and introduce their project to their school community. The expectation is for leads and administrators to present similar information to what's being provided here today to your school team. We will provide your teams with the presentation content. You don't have to make it up, and you don't have to be stressed. We'll review it with you in advance. And our desire is for all schools to have been oriented to the project by December. All right, so just to pause for reflection, we're going to ask you to take a few minutes or do it on your own to consider the reflection questions on the slide as it pertains to your particular school. You can use your companion worksheet, and you can take notes around brainstorming some of your responses. So the questions are, who in your school needs to buy into the implementation of comprehensive school mental health? Who needs to be engaged in your school to develop buy-in? And what can be done to facilitate buy-in at your school? And what barriers can you anticipate? All are things that we've talked about today in our breakout sessions, and I'm sure you've been thinking about on your own. So utilize your note taker, and this can be some your own personal self-reflection just for the greater good of your school. The next thing I want to talk to you about is a couple of components that are included in a timeline to give you a little bit more context. Starting with one of the first aspects of the timeline is the key informant interviews. So the purpose of this set of interviews is to determine which components of a comprehensive school-based mental health program exist at your school and which components of programming we can best support you with throughout the project. So essentially, it's an opportunity for us to learn how to best support you. We've already sent out your introduction to conduct your key informant interviews to your administrator. And the process will include an hour interview with your building administrator and a 90-minute interview with key project staff. So those will be folks that are on your team and people that are going to help you implement the initiative, right? The interview includes 15 planning questions that will help us assess school readiness, culture and climate, and existing programming, and any anticipated barriers. And of course, this is also an opportunity for us to meet your school staff and begin to develop a positive working relationship. So now I'm going to pass it back to Stuart, and he's going to run through the SHAPE system with you.
All right, thank you so much, Tania. So I know we've gotten a lot of information today. I just want to say a quick reminder, all of the slides and additional resources are all on Canvas, and you'll all receive these later today. But as we start to kind of wind down and walk through some of these next step specific items, I want to share with you all a little bit about the SHAPE system. So the SHAPE system is, SHAPE is an acronym for the School Health Assessment and Performance Evaluation System. And it was developed by the National Center for School Mental Health at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. And the SHAPE system, what it is a public access web-based platform, and it's really a wonderful workplace for resources to really support the continuous quality improvement and really advance high quality school mental health systems. SHAPE includes a few different specific components that I want to share with you today. So we'll primarily be utilizing SHAPE for the school mental health quality assessment, which I'll discuss a little bit more in detail. There's also a couple of different resource libraries. So let's go ahead and just get into it. So you'll access the SHAPE system by going to theshapesystem.com. And or if you're like me who doesn't type in any URLs anymore and just Googles everything, you can just Google the SHAPE system and it will be, or it should be at least, the first option that pops up. So that's where you'll go to log in and everything. And I do want to mention, in addition to this very brief introduction to SHAPE, we've uploaded a more comprehensive tutorial about how to log in, how to access these different assessments and the different functionalities of the SHAPE system onto Canvas. So you can find that there to really review at your own pace, to really find the details about logging in and creating an account and all of the really nitty-gritty of all of that. But for today, as you see here, this is going to be the home page for SHAPE, and this is going to guide you with any information that you need about what the SHAPE system offers. So this is always a really great one-stop place if you have questions. So once you log into your SHAPE system account, following the directions that are in the tutorial video that I just mentioned, you might get a pop-up, actually you will, if it's the first time that you've logged into SHAPE, to complete the school mental health profile. I'm only showing you this now to let you know that you don't have to do it. It's not an expectation as a part of this project that you complete the school mental health profile, but it does report back to the school mental health national census that the National Center's conducting. So that information will go towards that if you want to participate in that. However, I know we're to the brim with other tasks, so do not worry about it if you don't feel compelled to complete that aspect. We then have the school mental health quality assessment. And this assessment is really what we're going to be using the bulk of our time in SHAPE using. And this allows schools, you all, to really assess your current programs as well as the progress over time of the quality of your comprehensive school mental health programming. And you can do this both at the school and the district level. So this assessment consists of 7 domains. which are all on the screen here, including just a few teaming, needs assessment, resource mapping, tier 1, tier 2s, and 3. All of these, if they didn't sound familiar already, hopefully after today's session, they're starting to feel more and more familiar. It's okay if all of this is brand new. We're going to get there. So this assessment will be completed by your team with your Rutgers consultant. Your Rutgers consultant will reach out with some more details about how this will be completed over time, and as well as with some instructions on a specific protocol that we're going to direct you with and help you facilitate. And the idea of that specific protocol that we're developing is really to make this as efficient as a process as possible. You know, the quality assessment is extremely helpful in really assessing programs as well as tracking progress, but it is lengthy, and we estimate, I want to be honest, about 4 hours to complete this for the first time, and we recommend and will recommend separating that out into at least 2 separate meetings. And once you kind of become more acquainted with the assessment itself, over time, that time will be reduced. So just know that your Rutgers consultant will reach out to help facilitate this process and with that protocol, but just kind of start thinking about when in the next few months that you'll be able to complete that with your team. And just to give you a little bit of grounding here, this is what the quality assessment is going to look like as you start it for each domain. So this is the teaming domain. Of course, here you would just click next after reading that. And this is an example question of what you can expect. It's really asking to what extent do you engage in these best practices for teaming, and you would respond accordingly. And we'll facilitate this process and a effective method of finding consensus with your team. Finally, also, there's a printed version. I'm just letting you know that this exists. It's on our Canvas website and also on the Shape website, but we will actually bring copies of this for your team when your Rutgers consultant is there to help facilitate the completion of the assessment. And then finally, once you're done, you can review those summary reports. You can view them by each different domain here. And you can also view a summary report. And this is what we'll utilize with your team to kind of review where you're at, as well as starting that goal planning and strategic planning process with you all. Next, we also have a resource library on Shape, and there's a ton of different resources. It looks like when I took this screenshot, there were 228 resources. There might be even more now, but all of these are all divided up, as you can see here, into those 7 different domains. So really helpful if you're really honing in on a specific domain, you can go right here and see what resources are available. There's also the quality guides that exist for each different domain. All of these are also uploaded on our Canvas website too. And this is all of those school mental health quality guides here. And then finally, we have the screening and assessment library. This is a helpful resource if you're looking for different screening or assessment tools to use with your students. All of the resources here are free and open source. So this is if you're looking for specific screeners, this is a great first stop. And then finally, if you have some trouble logging in or with your accounts, of course, we can help to the extent that we can, but since we don't own and operate the SHAPE system, that's the National Center of School Mental Health, they will have to help you with any account issues that you have. But we can help with general questions about the assessments and how to utilize once you're in SHAPE. But for any issues with logging in or connecting accounts, those are more appropriate for the National Center. And now I'm going to jump into our training calendar briefly. I know Tania shared the timeline that included an overview of what to expect over the next few years. But I wanted to let you know that there is a training calendar on Canvas that you can review that is there for your use. And you'll notice that we have this split up by cohorts. It's really amazing that we have so many participating schools in this program. We're so excited, but that means that we just need to split some of these trainings up so that it's a size that really can accommodate some wonderful discussion and group dynamics. So you'll notice also as you scroll through that calendar, that we've split you all up into various cohorts. You'll notice some creative names here. The Balanced Blueberries, the Resilient Red Oaks. We utilize some symbols, some New Jersey state symbols. So we've got some New Jersey pride here. And if you're like me, it's much easier to remember the Balanced Blueberries than cohort B. All right, so as we start to wrap up, we've shared a ton with you today. You're probably feeling a lot of different things, but hopefully in there is some excitement and some eagerness to get started. So what are the things you need to be thinking about now? So first, we want you to start consulting with your administrator to identify or confirm the names of who your school mental health team members will be. Most of your principals have identified team members. If they have, you can check in and find who those team members are. And if not, this is a good opportunity for you all to work together to start developing that team. We also are in the process of scheduling those key informant interviews that Tania had mentioned, that administrator portion and the team portion. All of your school principals should have received an email to schedule those out. So if you're wondering about that, we'd recommend kind of reaching out to your principal to kind of see what you can expect and when that's going to be. And then we also want to plan for time to complete the SHAPE assessment. Like I said earlier, it's those two 2-hour meetings for you and your team. And we'll reach out, your Rutgers consultant will reach out with more information about that. But just start thinking about when you might be able to meet with your team to complete those. Also, we have the buy-in presentation that Tania mentioned as well. And that buy-in presentation is on the Canvas website already, so you can find it there. It includes notes as well. We ask that by our October meeting that you just kind of review that, because we'll have some time to answer any questions or address any concerns that you have. And then finally, we have the post-session survey that we will share with you momentarily. And as with all of these tasks and everything that we're going to do together, all the exciting stuff that we're going to do together over the next few years, if you have any questions or feel you need any support, please do not hesitate to reach out. We really do want to make this as seamless as a process as possible for you. And that's why we're here. And so finally, we have our action planning. This is also in your note taker activity. It could be helpful for you as you wrap up today to start thinking about some of these specific questions as we continue on in our work past today. And now I'm going to pass this off to Christy to wrap us all up.
Thank you so much, Stuart. And I just really want to take a moment to give a special shout out to the Rutgers Dream Team. That's what I like to call them. You know, honestly, just the time, their dedication, their commitment, all the hard work that went into putting together today's training session for you all. I think we mentioned we've been planning for this for quite some time. They are just such an amazing group, and I know that you are all in very good hands. And then again, just a special thank you to all of you, the positive energy that just came into today's training space. Your participation and just the amazing dialogue and discussion that we were able to have today. So again, we're excited to start this process with all of you to help assist us and to, you know, just kind of improve our future training sessions. If you could just take a moment, you can either scan the QR code that's on the screen there, or I believe we're going to also drop a link in the chat to our training survey. As a friendly reminder, assurances were sent to all schools last week via DocuSign. This outlines your commitment to this project and requires signatures from your superintendent, your principal, and all of you. If you have not completed this document, we just kindly ask that you please follow up with your administrator today. That would be greatly appreciated. The other thing that Stuart mentioned was the key informant interviews. I believe those emails went out to principals sometime last week. We just need to confirm those interview dates. So if we have principals that are on the call today, if you could just respond to your school, to your Rutgers consultant, confirming those dates, that would be great. So I know, again, we covered a lot of information today, and you might have even a lot of questions right after today's session. We'll open it up for questions in a sec. I know that somebody dropped into the chat, and I can't remember, I'm sorry who, a question regarding how many people should you have on your comprehensive school mental health team. So I want to just take a moment to address that question in case folks did not see it. We are recommending that you have at least 5 people, right, included on your school mental health team, and that includes your leads. So again, up to 5 people that should be a part of your comprehensive school mental health team, and that includes your 2 leads. One thing I want to challenge you all to think about is just thinking outside of the box when recruiting folks to be a part of your comprehensive school mental health team. One of the fundamental components of comprehensive school mental health is community and families. And so I encourage you to think about parents that may be a good fit for your team. Think about any community members that may be a good fit for your team as well. So again, please feel free to add any questions that you may have in the chat. Oh wait, I think I see one here. So the principals have that information, but we are the ones interviewing the principals. Oh, great question. I'm sorry, Carrie Ann, if that was confusing. So the key informant interviews, we will be conducting those interviews, and we will be coming to your school to conduct those interviews. So no, you don't have to interview your principals, but we just need the principals to confirm the meeting date for those interviews. So I hope that clarifies that. I'm sorry if that was confusing for folks. Alrighty, again, so thank you all so much for joining us today. You were such a great group. We are certainly looking forward to partnering with you, collaborating with you over the next 2 years. Again, feel free to follow up if you have questions that maybe, again, are swirling in your mind after today's session. There is a question forum that is available on Canvas, and you can always reach out to your school mental health lead. I hope you all have a wonderful, restful weekend.